dramatically when it comes to his mechanics.
I feel like for Flash, there was probably this period of time at the beginning of Team Solo Mid where he had to impart all of this sort of game knowledge and strategy and tactics upon his team. And then once they got on board with that, he was like, okay, now I can focus a little bit more on what I'm doing personally. And we have seen that improvement out of him. It almost feels like not something worth talking about anymore because he's just a solid player and he has been for quite some time. But really, that's the story of everyone at this level. You know, they are all fantastic, strong, consistent players. Cloud9 are on the A side here. Team Solo Mid on the B side. Let's get this draft underway with Kestrel taking off the board first.
Yep, so Kestrel going to be that first ban for Cloud9, not wanting to see that over on in Voncee's hands. Vancee was one of the original Kestrel, the player that put Kestrel on the map way back when it was the weapon power Kestrel that we saw all the time. But so you definitely know he's still got that skill there. He showcased it yesterday. Lyra going to be chosen away here by Team Solo Mid.
I think this very specific ban by Cloud9 here. Their probably will first pick the Gwen and take it away because Old School is so proficient and strong on Gwen. But instead, they're going to put Gabe on that Lance. And Gabe has been so great with that Lance. And they're going to hand over Gwen to TSM, which is interesting because Gwen is actually good into Lance because of her skedaddle, able to get out of a root or a stun situation. So I think TSM here will most likely ban Koshka or Glaive, actually. Glaive is going to be banned. So Koshka is going to be open for Cloud9 and see if they're going to pick a Koshka with a Lance here. And I think banning-wise, they may potentially ban Samuel here and deny the Samuel Gwen composition that's so strong.
Yeah, it would make sense. The two do work extremely well together. Team Solo Mid has had some success with the Samuel, a little bit of mixed success, about a 50% win rate, but haven't actually played it too often either. But we know they're a team that likes to play to the meta, and they like to actually even create the meta at times. But we'll see. The Flicker going to get banned away, and Samuel locked in immediately.
Yeah, TSM has picked Flicker with Gwen and picked double range, so this is a smart ban by Cloud9 and just giving the Samuel. Now Cloud9 can pick an assassin like Taka or Koshka, which I think they should into the Samuel composition, and picked a strong weapon power laner that can dive with the Taka. So Ringo would make sense because he outranges the Gwen, but they're going to go with the Vox here. Vox has been a big priority over Ringo when it comes to picks for EU and NA recently. I think it has to do with his kit and his ability and his innate attack speed. And I think here they're probably going to pick an assassin. They can even go, yep, they're going to pick Taka here, and then TSM will most likely pick either Finn or Arden. Probably Arden to help Samuel get out of really tough situations here.
All right, well, with the Taka coming through, this is kind of one of those picks we talked about in Europe a little bit where it's a pick that a team can specialize on but don't really play it all that often. We know I Love Joseph has a phenomenal Taka, but they just haven't actually pulled it out too frequently this season. This will only be the 4th time he has played this hero.
Yeah, it used to be a real continuous conversation about who was the best Taka player. There's a few options, status up there as well. But Cloud9 recently have not been putting that priority onto the Taka pickup in that same way. Team Solo Mid, they got 20 seconds left on the draft in their bonus time. What are they going to lock in to really close things out here? A bunch of options. They need a captain, though.
Yeah, Adagio, Arden, Finn, all could work really well. We'll see where they decide to go. It's going to be a pedal.
What?
So they're probably going to either play support Samuel or support Petal. However, they need to rush Frostburn on one of these heroes. Most likely it'll be a support Samuel with a Petal because Petal counters the Taka. I think most likely that's what they're going to do.
For what it's worth, we have seen Captain Samuel before. I'm trying to remember which event it was. It was one of the championships where Samuel had just come out and Mowgli played it in Europe.
Yep.
And it actually did really well.
We've also seen Captain Petal way back. Like way, way back. So
you're not going to give us more? Was it good? Was it good? Did it work?
I don't remember. It was so long ago. My memory's not that good.
Right. Okay.
I barely remember what I had for breakfast, let alone what happened last year.
I'm pretty sure you had bacon for breakfast.
Actually, I didn't today.
So the trick here with having a support Samuel or support Petal is you have to focus on your abilities and your damage and your positioning, and on top of that, you have to worry about actives. So normally a support like Arden is pretty straightforward. You Vanguard, but Samuel actually has to do things if he's a support. He has to go through Drifting Dark, Madison Verdict, Fountain, Crucible. So I think they have practiced this, but I think TSM intentionally picked the Petal to counter the Taka to not let them win the early game.
This is going to be a really interesting matchup. We do know Team Solo Mid towards the end of the season has been known to experiment a little bit. We've seen the weapon Samuel before. We've seen weapon Lyra. Guys, predictions heading into game number 1.
I think Cloud9 will take it.
I think Cloud9 will have the advantage here as well, but I'm not going to discount Team Solo Mid completely, but I do think Cloud9 will get the victory.
All right, guys, let's get on to the Halcyon Fold. We have a great semifinals coming up for you guys between TSM and Cloud9. Let's hand it on over to Jaws and Scoundrel.
Thank you very much, guys. And can TSM remain as strong as they've been looking so far, or can Cloud9 come back after a little bit of a weak start last week?
I think these two teams are very equally matched. TSM obviously completely dominant in the North American region, but Cloud9 have been showing elements of brilliance from time to time. But this is TSM with something incredibly odd. I mean, this is TSM with the Rome Samuel, which we saw from Mowgli, like they said last year. It had mixed success. It kind of caught people off guard at the start, but then people realized that, hey, this is a very low utility, especially early game, low utility captain. We can kind of take advantage of this. I'm guessing what they're trying to do here is it just has so much siege and so much control with the Malice and Verdict in the Drifting Dark. Big Impale.
Nice Impale onto Flash X, and he will go down for first blood. I Love Joseph is going to secure it. Best Chakane trying to return some of that damage, but Joseph just comes back in actually, and Best Chakane is in a lot of trouble. Goes down for the double kill, and Von C now is going to fall. Cloud9 off to a very, very good start.
This is one of the major issues when you run this type of composition, when you have 3 very squishy members. Not only is I Love Joseph maybe even potentially considering going a Shatterglass in this particular situation, which is, could be the case after the Storm Crown, although, it might be a little bit late. It also means if you get hit by an Impale, you're not very likely to survive that endeavor. So you have to be so careful with your positioning for TSM here. You cannot let Lance get close to you in any way, shape, or form, which means you're really going to need that Frostburn on Von C ASAP to try and control. Otherwise, if you do get locked up, it's easy pickings for I Love Joseph, and it allows Old School the time to stack. What also you're seeing here, Jaws, is that you've got a triple ranged with, you maybe stack off the Munions, but obviously not. I actually don't even know if you build Breaking Point stacks off the Munions. That's something I probably should know, but it does make it harder for Vox to stack because there's no melee. Vox likes to stack his Breaking Point from melee heroes, so it does make it slightly harder in that scenario. But again, you have to be so careful with that positioning.
Well, speaking about positioning, Flash X in a lot of trouble, does get rooted once more. I Love Joseph's going to go in, but Old School is going to be able to secure the credit for that kill. Another kill goes over to Cloud9. 4-0 in this early game, especially against a range composition here. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare for TSM, as Cloud9 already knocking the doors on that first turret.
Exactly, and when you have a triple ranged, you expect to be the ones doing the sieging, but again, you're getting hit by the Impales, you're getting locked up by the CC. There is little to no utility pre-6 in this TSM lineup, which means you have to be careful pre-6. They picked the Petal, like they said, to potentially put a stopper on Attacker early on. Petal's Munions will reveal Taka, as he tries to jump on you. If he goes into stealth, they should reveal him, and he can't then dip and dive around using that Kaku. But the problem is that, unfortunately, when you pair that with a Lance, if Lance can be aggressive and get these Impales and get the CC down, it makes it very easy for I Love Joseph to have clean pickings in the early game. You kind of pick Petal to shut down Taka early on because it makes it difficult for him to get, one-on-one picks from the jungler. But TSM making it so easy for Cloud9 right now.
Yeah, they are. And with I Love Joseph picking up those 2 kills, it's going to be very easy for them to find some more. Von C almost gets rooted, but Flash X actually finds himself on the wrong side of that Impale. However, that range composition really coming into effect now as TSM are going to be able to actually fend Cloud9 off. That triple buckshot as well is going to help them, I can imagine, in the next few minutes just to make sure that Cloud9 can't get them on any further.
Yeah, if TSM can survive the first impact, they actually hold the advantage. As long as I say that once you get post-6 Taka, it might be more difficult. But if they can survive that first impact, not get locked down, not lose a member instantaneously, then that kite process begins. You have the Frostburn coming out on Von C, you have the slow coming out from Best Chakane, and the triple range should come into effect. But it's all about getting the right positioning and surviving that initial impact from C9, which obviously TSM struggled with in the first 4 minutes of this game. We'll have to see if they can sure it up as everybody heads towards level 6. The issue that they're going to face is now you're going to have more burst. Post 6 from I Love Joseph, he's got the X-Retsu, he can blow someone up a little bit more readily. and it means that he can extend these fights even when TSM are starting to kite backwards.
I mean, in a sense, this just gives them a lot of practice, right, on this maybe off-meta composition. They mentioned on the desk that TSM, yeah, they're near the end of the kind of season. They know they're very far ahead in terms of point total. So, you know, they're pushing the boat out a little bit, knowing they can't really drop down to second place. So, I mean, in that sense, it just plays into a lot of their favors in just kind of developing as a squad.
But also, I guess, in that sense, you can try strategies at this point in time. You've got a very strong opposition here. Often, you as TSM, you might say, well, if I tried this strategy against, you know, one of the lower-end teams on the table, we might find that we have success, and it's not a good representation of how strong this composition could be. So TSM have obviously probably practiced this in drafts. Now they're trying to bring it to a live tournament setting against a very strong opponent. It's a good indicator of how good this particular composition could be. If they can get a win with it versus Cloud9, suddenly they might have triggered something that could be incredible. But again, the theory behind it is that, you know, you've got this triple range. It should be very good at kiting. You have the petal to deal with the Taka. The siege potential of this team is pretty strong too. Remember, from what we've seen from Europe and a little bit from what we've seen from North America, it seems to be sieging that first turret especially is the name of the game. We saw both Fnatic and SK really run these 4-minute turret compositions where they would just all run to lane and spam siege onto a turret, and I guess TSM have got an element that sort of exists with that throughout the course of the game. We've got a fight.
Cloud9, they're going to go for a turret dive here. FlashX in a lot of trouble, but actually TSM using their range perfectly to their advantage. Vonti's going to bounce forward. Old School almost goes down. He actually falls in the end there. Does get picked up by FlashX, but I Love Joseph isn't done just quite yet. Gets taken out by the petal, but takes Best Chuckane with him.
Little bit too eager there, Cloud9. I think they were saying, well, let's try and keep pushing that advantage, but they went for the turret dive. Suddenly, you know, they've got the post level 6 Von C. Everybody is grouped up. You can get some great spontaneous combustions down, providing both healing and damage. Obviously, I Love Joseph had to back out because he'd used his cooldown, started taking the damage from the turret. TSM excellently playing around that turret, but that was punishing the over-aggression of C9, and we saw, you know, over the years, we've seen a lot of these players, especially I Love Joseph, really like to push those turret dives, push those aggressions, and TSM seem to have found a remedy to that particular circumstance. They're still not ahead. They're actually about 1,000 gold behind, but they managed to steady the ship just a little bit.
I suppose one of the best tools for TSM as well is the fact that FlashX, when he hits that level 6, he's got the Oblivion. So if they do want to jump on them, go all in, straight on their face, he can put the Oblivion under his team and they can back off and play around that. So it's going to be a massive tool for FlashX to use in a few seconds. He has only just dinged 6 there, so we'll be able to make use of that if he really needs to.
Interesting, Gabe Vizzle prioritized going for the Atlas Pauldrons here. And this is a tension bow Gwen, so realistically not relying a huge amount on attack speed right now.
Ooh, Oblivion does go down. It does end up missing, and Von C is going to have to exit the fight very rapidly. But FlashX and we do have Gwen just doing so much damage in the front line. That tension bow with the buckshot is just absolutely devastating to C9's advances.
Absolutely, and they didn't manage to get the burst down onto Von C either, who has got spontaneous combustion. Joseph going back in again.
Oh, the sniper way as well from Old School is finally going to find a shot. FlashX in a lot of trouble here underneath the turret, versing 3 members of Cloud9. They're going to focus the turret, though, without too much of a worry. Von C is going to jump in as well. They actually trade 1 for 1 so far, and Von C comes through with another kill as well. So Gabe Vizzle is the only member left for Cloud9 with a 2-level disadvantage. Von C, is he going to chase it? But that was a fantastic counter dive there from TSM yet again. They managed to pick up 2 kills off the back of that one.
Well, actually, it was Von C going to get a healing camp, made him combat ready to come back into the fray. Spontaneous combustion was devastating again. That's 2 times that the Petal Ultimate has wreaked havoc on an over-aggressive C9 roster. But they did get the first turret of the game, Jaws. So they've come away with a slight net advantage in the sense that it was only a 2-for-2 trade. TSM only leveled the scoreboard there. They didn't really pull ahead. And Cloud9 still got that turret. So they've got that net advantage in the global gold there. Not as clean as Cloud9 would have wanted, but it's still a small advantage. You can really see, there we go, Shatterglass on the Taka, exactly what we thought was going to happen. You see 3 squishies. It is easy pickings for high impact damage coming out from that Shatterglass. Not going for the aftershock because it's just not going to have the same effect, and that's why you're seeing these massive amounts of damage come out from the X-Retsu and Kaiten, and that's maybe why you're seeing so much shielding prioritization now from Von C and Best Chuck, already seeing them invest in tier 1 armor, and Von C is actually going for 2 pieces of tier 1 armor.
Just to make sure he doesn't take the full brunt of I Love Joseph's damage. Did try and go for a sneaky impale there, but did end up missing. Actually, the mobility coming into quite a big factor there as Vonti does get jumped on. That damage coming out from that Shatterglass is absolutely massive. But Vonti's going to be able to just trade up a lot of this one. Old School, though, is going to dive forward. Flashx going really low as well. Best Chakane, he's going to have to run away, but does get impaled. X-Retsu onto him. He's going to get blown up instantly. He almost actually takes out I Love Joseph with him, but it will be an ace for Cloud9 as Old School finishes off Samuel in the back.
Yeah, Old School picked up some armor, not the burst coming out from TSM right now. It's interesting the way that they've run with this. Flashx has actually picked up a Frostburn here, so they're not actually going support at all. They're literally going 3 damage carries. So you're going to have 3 range damage carries, so much kite coming out the double Frostburn. But that particular fight, you saw how much damage I Love Joseph did on that sort of initial engage with the X-Retsu. And you've got this tension bow Gwen, and then you have this Petal, so you've got 1 sustained damage source and 1 burst damage source. Neither of them could blow up a singular target because I Love Joseph immediately took the brunt of the damage and then backed out. And Old School was allowed to stack. And once he got those stacks up, he was able to jump forwards. Best Chakane didn't quite have that burst ready and available from the heroic perk, and that's where Old School was managing to just absolutely wreck that line of TSM. They need to be able to prioritize and fix their targets a little bit more readily. Definitely think I need to see some more shielding come out as well. Tier 2 shields ASAP for TSM, because I Love Joseph is doing some serious work to that backline, especially when he initially engages. I say backline, Jaws. Everybody from TSM is a backline.
They got no front line. There's nothing
Exactly.
to be had. I mean, the Drifting Dark is the front line, I guess. That's what they're using to kind of kite around. But Cloud9, they're doing a fantastic job so far. I mean, 2 turrets down for TSM. And they got free reign of the jungle now. We see this time and time again, especially some of these top-tier teams. It's very easy for them to push forward, take those Crystal Sentries out and look for fights over and over again. In fact, Flashx has found I Love Joseph, and there's going to be a nice route on from Gabe Vizzle, but it's not going to matter too much. He's going to be able to back away, but Old School actually diving straight under the turret takes him out without too much of a chip on his shoulder. Not a problem. Best Chakane actually in a lot of trouble here. Does use the aces high, but I Love Joseph is going to be able to solo him out here. In fact, they are just kiting back because that turret is taking a lot of damage as well.
Yeah, actually, they don't bother chasing up him there because the Munions could do so much work. That's a route onto Von C.
Oh, Von C goes down. Von C later. And they do manage to take out the turret as well. Old School's going to dash forward. Best Chakane is going to get healed from the fountain. Will he be able to survive? Not for long. Flashx drifting dark onto 2 members. I Love Joseph is so low. How is he still alive, big scoundrel? He's going to get out, I think, unless Flashx can find him. Nope. Pops into the stealth. Does manage to get out alive. How is he still alive? I've got no idea.
Oh, it's because he's got tier 2 shielding. Got a little bit of tier 1 armor, that light armor there as well. Picked up a little bit of health. These guys are durable. This is not a completely squishy front line for C9 right now. And TSM just don't have the item spikes available to deal with it necessarily in the best way. They've got... When the Broken Myth maybe comes out for Flashx, but there's little to no defensive items on him apart from the Fountain. So he's a pretty easy target for I Love Joseph to find these initial engages on. And now, you don't really have a captain, right? You have Flashx with a Fountain. So every target is a viable target for C9. They're not going to be picky.
Well, speaking of targets, they found Flashx and Von C. Von C's kiting really well. I Love Joseph out the fight, but it's not going to matter because Old School's going to follow up with what 1 but 2 kills. And Flashx is going to have to back off rather sharp. There's no energy on his front. Cloud9 just hunting him down. Old School dash forward, and Flashx is going to fall for the 3rd kill. Technically a triple kill, and that's going to be an ace for Cloud9. They're going to push onto these turrets, but no minions. Apparently no problem for Cloud9.
Yeah, they're just going to keep going for this. They have the ace buff. They're going to get the regeneration. Gabe Vizzle has got the Atlas Pauldrons as well, so taking a little bit less damage. They'll get 1 turret, and they'll start to back out. So in theory here, Jaws, in theory, if TSM hits the right item spikes, if they get the damage on Flashx, they should be able to kite. They get a bit of defense against the attacker. They build up their shielding. They should be able to kite backwards and actually win most of the fights, because they should not really be allowing Old School to stack up. The reason they are losing is because they're getting caught out by Gabe Vizzle. So Old School is stacking up. And I Love Joseph jumps in with that X-Retsu, jumps in, does a huge amount of burst damage because he's built Shatterglass. TSM immediately focus him, and they don't actually have the burst afterwards to deal with Old School. So Old School's already started stacking up, and he jumps in, he runs through the fight, and TSM don't have the damage to deal with him because they're already on the defensive, they can't turn and coordinate, and Old School wreaks havoc on their lineup. Also, you've got to remember the fact that you've only got, realistically, best chuck NA for the burst here. Yes, spontaneous combustion is a little bit of burst, but the majority of TSM is sustained damage. So they don't have a coordinated attack to deal with a box. Usually you pair a burst Gwen with some sort of burst hero, like a Taka, or maybe even a Koshka, or for instance, because you're going to be coordinating your damage onto that one singular target. It's not happening for TSM here, because they don't have the composition that makes that work. They are playing a longer, sustained kiting fight composition here, and it is just because of the attacker having Shatterglass, causing them to instantaneously be defensive and Gay Vizzle catching them out. It's not really working.
I mean, that long game has turned into a little bit of a sticky situation for TSM right now. 15 minutes into the game, that Kraken is on the board, and it is getting it taken by Cloud9 if they continue this. TSM is not going to shy away from it, though. They are trying to move in now, but Cloud9 doing a good job of kiting. You can see I Love Joseph here just prowling in this bush at the bottom lane, near the bottom item shop, sorry. It'll be a tasty target if he does jump on anybody, but like you said, TSM, they've got a lot of kiting potential with those 2 frost burns, but Cloud9 not yet deterred. Oblivion goes a little bit wide, and Cloud9 actually got other plans. I think they're just going to rush down this lane.
They're going to force TSM to come to them, which brings them right into C9's range. That's exactly what they want. TSM are actually just going to end up backing here, and now C9 have got yet more positional advantage. It was a win-win situation. You run down lane, TSM have to deal with it. So either they run into you to try and force a fight, which is what C9 wants, or they back off and C9 get advantage on the Kraken again. It was a win-win situation.
Well, okay, Fizzle looking for the Impale. X-Retsu and a double Impale. Best Chuck, and he does use this to get out of there, but it's not going to be enough because Flash X falls. Vonzi's going really low as well. Joseph jumps in for another one. He does pick himself up a kill. Old School picks himself up too, and Cloud9 will take game number 1 in this best of 3. What a fantastically well-played game from them. And TSM, bit of an oddball strategy in terms of composition. Didn't really pay off too well, so I'm kind of excited to see what they pull out next game.
I actually think the composition could... The funny thing is, I actually think the composition could have worked, but they just got caught out by Impales early on. If you're running a triple range composition and you're not planning on building any kind of reflex block or defense or anything, you have to make sure your positioning is top-notch. That was not top-notch positioning, especially from Flash X early on. That was a bit aggressive. I think they were trying to too eagerly siege that tier 1 turret because of their range advantage, and they got caught out and gave C9 an early lead. You give a Taka an early lead, even versus a Petal, he will run away with it. In fact, if Taka gets an early lead versus Petal, he's going to absolutely destroy her because she's got one of the lowest base healths in the game, and especially when you add a Shatterglass to the mix, it's, you know, night plant. So I think TSM's draft was okay, but they just executed it a little bit funny. I don't think that's going to be something that we'll see a lot from them, though.
We'll have to see if they do want to mix it up in game number 2. I think we need to jump over to the analyst desk, though. They'll break this game down a little bit further. Take it away, guys.
All right, guys, so let's try and break that game down. It's going to be a little bit difficult.
A little off the wall. Little off the wall from Team Solomid. My biggest concern with their draft is from the get-go, there's no clear way to deal with a Gwen. Like that's the biggest thing to me. Is like you have no one who can jump onto that back line and apply an Atlas Pauldron to the Gwen or any, like there's nothing to try and lock down that carry. And it showcased Old School was able to just run away with things thanks to some of the early game plays from Taka, but there was nothing in mind, it seemed.
Let's have a look at one of those replays actually from early on into the game. You can see here TSM actually pushing up a bit further than they probably should have.
Here's an example of a good engage by Cloud9 here. TSM actually almost wins this fight, but you can see that Flash has a very late fountain, and during that fountain timing, he was in the middle of his Malice and Verdict trying to do skill shots and etc. And that's the difficulty of playing a jungler type position as a captain. You have to kind of mechanic and also worry about fountaining actives at the same time, which you can be late on if that happens.
So heading into the draft for game number 2, what would you guys like to see TSM do differently?
Again, I'm not completely opposed to the composition they ran. Like the way that they were going to try and win felt like to me they were just looking to blow up the front line and say, okay, we don't have anything to deal with the Gwen because we're not going to deal with the Gwen. But they weren't able to have enough damage despite having 3 damage dealers being built because they fell behind so hard early on. So I'd like to see them have a little bit more early game control.
I also think, they needed vision. Right, like they needed good vision in order to pick the fights where they could blow up the front line and not get jumped on immediately. And Flash kind of foregoed picking up a lot of flares towards the end, so that was a bit of an issue. We're into the draft for game number 2, though. Let's see what TSM decides to throw together for this one. They're going to ban away that Glaive. Cloud9 taking the Lance.
Yeah, they've
off the
done
table.
these ban drafts before. They're going to probably first pick the Gwen here, if I'm not mistaken, unless they want to opt for like Lyra or Adagio. So they're going to opt for the Lyra. Cloud9 is definitely going to take the Gwen away. That's something that is a big priority for both these teams. So I see a first pick Gwen here, and then potentially they can round it off with a jungler like Samuel, and they're going to ban Koshka or Taka because they want to play that Samuel. Because Samuel actually is decent into Lyra.
Yeah, Samuel's also very good with the Lyra, so I expect to see Samuel in one of these next 4 selections, whether it's a pick or a ban. We'll have to wait and see. But Cloud9, thinking about this pick, they are going to go ahead and take the Gwen once more.
Yeah, and they are going to then probably ban an assassin, since Gwen usually struggles if a assassin like Taka or Koshka gets ahead in the early game against her. So I think most likely, they're going to take away Vox actually. So Vox, I keep forgetting, is a priority banner pick now over Ringo. So TSM here has a lot of options, but they'll probably ban something that they don't want to deal with, like, okay, an assassin. So they feel like they're going to play a comp that excels well. So Baron is a good pick here because no Koshka's going to come out. They can pick Baron, Ringo if they want, and Kestra is open as well.
So, I mean, the fact that they banned away that Taka made it fairly easy for Cloud9 to pick up the Samuel, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Might they pick up a Flicker here, too? Double range Flicker? We've seen that a decent amount recently.
Yeah, they could. That would work well for Cloud9. They do play Flicker, so they can play that, or they can even play a Finn here. Finn is also a pretty good pick as well. So I see Flicker, Finn, or Arden, and Gabe is good on all 3 of those captain heroes.
All right, so final selection. They could also try pulling out the Catherine against Kestrel Ringo. I think that could work pretty well, but we've seen Cloud9 use Catherine a couple different ways, but I would expect it to be something like the Finn or the Arden, and then it's going to be the Finn.
All right, well, the Finn against double ranged. It's all about the hooks here, right, for him in order to set up these plays?
Yeah, it is about the hooks. It's about leveraging the hooks to burn a Crucible and then allowing Samuel to land a really nice ultimate. They also have the Gwen ult as well. Her ace is high, is going to stun. So they have a lot of options here. With TSM, they need to poke with CP Kestrel, land a good ult, and then dive, get a nice portal in. Portal into a Finn is very dangerous, though, because it's obvious where you're going to land up, and he can just quibble you as soon as you pop out the portal. So it's going to have to be very careful engages by both teams here.
Is it valuable to just use the portal in a different way completely, like saving it for a disengage or maybe using it on the periphery of the fight to sort of allow you to reposition around the Finn?
Yeah, like I said yesterday when Immortals played Lyra, they should use the portal when his Malice and Verdict is down and they need to engage then, or use it to reposition their entire team away from the Malice and Verdict. The Drifting Dark, I mean.
Got you. Okay, so on the other side here for Team Solo Mid, this composition, double range and Lyra, we've seen a decent amount of this before. Very, very good damage from range.
Yeah, a lot of damage, and especially with the Kestrel, you can just blow targets up if you can get into the proper position, which Lyra helps with. So it's a composition we've seen multiple times. We've seen it work. We've seen Team Solo Mid has run this composition before. So it's something that they know a little bit more familiar than game number 1, perhaps, for a viewership's sake. So I don't know. I think this is a composition they could win with, but Cloud9 they looked really, really good, even against the unconventional draft.
I think TSM is going to put so much pressure in lane because Finn doesn't offer that much in lane early until he's level 6. So they're going to pressure the lane and get an early turret, probably before the 8-minute mark. And if TSM does that, they will probably take the game away. So my bet's on TSM.
All right, I didn't even have to prompt you there. Feeling confident from Sweet J. Bacon, how about yourself?
I think Cloud9 actually will be able to take this one 2-0.
All right, well, the players are just locking in their heroes. We're slightly delayed getting onto the Halcyon Fold, so I want to get one more point from each of you guys real quick. What is the most important thing to watch for in this game?
It's jungle versus jungle. If CP Kestrel gets ahead, she can shut down the Samuel. If Samuel doesn't get shut down and he gets to his late game, Samuel actually beats CP Kestrel late game. But Vonsi's very sneaky, so he might make some awesome plays.
For me, it's the captains, Hook versus Portals.
All right, guys, we're on the Halcyon Fold. Let's get this game underway. We've got Jaws and Scoundrel to bring you the action.
Thank you very much, guys. And yes, welcome to game number 2, Hooks versus Portals and Junglers v Junglers. I mean, I know what I like to see more. Junglers v Junglers. I think both of these guys have had an absolutely terrific couple of games at least. At least 6 single game. This is the second game.
Strong level 1 from TSM, which is why you see them going aggressive here onto this Samuel. You might just see backs get traded, although TSM are going to back out after just taking this forward healing camp because of the flare. So the initial response from C9 should be to go to the backs, and they know that TSM are just going to back off here. CP Kestrel very strong in the early game. If you can get ahead, like SweetJ said, can be absolutely oppressive to pretty much every member of the C9 roster. You know, deal with the Finn quite easily. He soaks up glimmer shots because he's just so slow and so big. And obviously Samuel has a tough time, despite equaling the range with that Malice and Verdict when using the Drifting Dark. He can get really shut down by this CP Kestrel. So we'll have to see how this goes. I think TSM do have a bit more of a snowball composition here. If they can get ahead, they can get the sieges happening. They've got a very strong, you know, early turret siege here as well, Jaws. You know, if they can get onto that first turret very quickly, you have a Ringo and a Ringo and a Kestrel, especially CP, very quick at taking those turrets. And you can see FlashX really harping to pull the lane, push the lane here, because that's exactly what they want to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, we see it time and time again, right? The Kestrel paired with this Lyra, very oppressive when it comes to duo jungle invades. And we'll probably see it again here on that. I mean, on this snowbally composition that we have got. One thing I want to touch on as well, we're talking a bit about it earlier, right? We're talking about the Gwen versus Ringo. I've had quite a lot of success on the Gwen using the tension bow, and just the Ringo. Is it this kind of pick that you can pick into this early game Gwen build because of the extended range?
Well, look at this exactly. I mean, you're not talking about it, and Bestchuk is illustrating it. That is old school, just out of range of dealing with Bestchuk and Bestchuk just consistently landing those basic attacks. It is a very oppressive lane to play into. In fact, Ringo, I think, has one of the highest attack ranges apart from Source. So Ringo can be pretty oppressive to any weapon power laner, especially with the Twirling Silver and Achilles shot. It makes it very hard to trade into him. But yeah, once that tension bow comes through, if old school is going to go the tension bow, you know, that'll be a lot of burst for Ringo to deal with. But you can see he's already picked up a light armor. He realizes that this could be the case. He's going to try and negate some of that early burst that the Gwen could bring to the table.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible. Tension bow with the heroic perk as well. That's a good 30 or HP in one auto attack. The buckshot, and then you just follow it up. It's pretty nasty. I mean, Von C is really going to have to kind of make sure he can snowball himself ahead at this point, because he'll be able to wipe old school off the face of the fold, like 100%. If he can find any active camo trap or literally just a couple of glimmer shots, it's going to be very hard, I think, for Cloud9 to kind of defend against that. Where do you think they're going to kind of prioritize in terms of building with this Samuel? Obviously, he's going to get his Frostburn first, but where else after that?
I'm not sure. I don't know how relevant a Frostburn first will be here, you know. If I were Joseph, I'd probably maybe think about a Shatterglass first again. It's just my personal opinion. Frostburn is good, I think it's fantastic, but there's not really much kiting that you need to do here. A little bit of a fight going on though.
Oh yeah, FlashX actually going really low. Gets first blooded by old school. That's not going to be good for TSM, especially on a Gwen. Bonsi is just going to back off towards his jungle, but actually maybe a little bit caught out here. Overstayed a little bit too long, and Joseph is going to be able to secure that kill. That was very greedy of Bonsi.
Yeah, very greedy of Bonsi to go for that. I think maybe the Frostburn will be good for chasing down. There's two theories right here. You take the Frostburn, but it's not necessarily for kiting, but it's pretty good for chasing down. In those kind of situations, having a Frostburn, chasing that TSM lineup can be devastating. But if you go for a Shatterglass, you've just got straight up more burst coming from those Malice and Verdict. So I think there's a decision here for Joseph, but it is a double squishy again, and we know that Shatterglasses are particularly good into double squishies. But Cloud9 having the early advantage again versus TSM. Tension Bow already hit. Bestchuk is going to start to feel the pain of that Tension Bow Gwen very early on here. And potential early sieges, I think, have already been shut down for TSM now. So they're going to have to try and find a different way to strategize to deal with Cloud9 in this early game.
I mean, I like the thinking getting the Shatterglass, because you just what beats burst? More burst. Like, you try and take out Von C quicker than he can take out your backline, basically. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where he goes. I mean, Frostburn or Shatterglass will make a lot of sense. Sorrowblade is going to get picked up for Bestchuk, so he's going to have a little bit more damage in his pocket now, coming up against Tension Bow.
He can finish Frostburn right now if he wants to. Yeah, he's going to go Frostburn.
There you go, yeah.
I mean, I think Frostburn is perfectly fine, and you know, in that situation, I think it's also good if you're ahead, because you saw in that situation there when they got those couple of kills onto TSM. Had a Frostburn been there, that would have been easy then for the Gwen to get the chase down. You combine it with the buckshot; it's very oppressive when both chasing down as well. So yeah, I think the Frostburn's perfectly acceptable. I just thought that there was potentially a argument for Shatterglass, but again, Samuel works so well with Frostburn in the first place.
Old School, though, gets jumped on by Von C. Glimmer shots. Do they rain true? They find Gabe Vizzle at 4 or 5 HP, doing a lot of work for him, though. Will be able to back off quite handily. Old School going fairly low. Has to drink a potion. 1 shot, 1 kill. Does strike Gabe Vizzle, but, you know, big, hunky Finn isn't going to take too much damage.
Yeah, he's already got a lot of the shielding coming from the fountain already, so he's already got some shielding coming through from that, so he'll be happily able to tank up Von C. That's a defensive use there of the Oblivion, and now it looks like C9 looking for a fight.
I don't know, man. I think that's pretty offensive. They managed to push them back, though. Does look like they want to try and go for something here. Gabe Vizzle hasn't hit the level 6 mark. Flash X taking a lot of damage. In fact, Skedaddle forward. No! Doesn't find the last auto attack, and Flash X will be able to get away. Sigil's going to be up in a few seconds as well. Von C has put an active camo trap down, and will hit Gabe Vizzle. It's a lot of damage on him. Old School actually just almost insta-killing Best Chuck and A, as Sigil's going to be there for the health regen. Von C yet again just playing so far forward. I just catch Old School here. I thought this was going to be over. I don't think it is, because Best Chuck ends up picking up... Well, Von C even picks up Old School. And they will find themselves their first kill of the game.
That's good for them. That gives Von C a little bit more to press forward with. He will go for a Frostburn first on the CP Kestrel here. Again, maybe to slow the advances of C9, maybe to allow Ringo to get into range more often than not, especially if that's going to be a Ringo running with a breaking point. Although against a double squishy, I would imagine maybe... a Shattered Glass would have been good, but I guess what a Frostburn allows here is Finn is going to be tanking these Glimmer shots for C9. So Finn, for the most part, should be tanking these up. So Finn is very, very susceptible to slows because of how big he is as a hero model. So if you slow the Finn, it makes it easy for Best Chuck NA to start getting the damage down. Best Chuck NA looks like he's actually heading towards critical strike here, so we could see a complete circumnavigation, get rid of the breaking point, and that gives a lot of burst on the side of TSM to deal with these double backline squishies from C9. And I guess the Frostburn specifically is so that Finn becomes an easy target for the TSM roster.
I mean, it makes sense, the fact that Joseph picked up a Frostburn as well. With the disengage of the Drifting Dark, I mean, you're just going to be able to blow someone up before they can get any defensive spells off, like Skedaddle as well can get the Gwen out of trouble without too much of a worry. Best Chuck NA is going to have to be a little bit careful. Gabe Vizzle is off to the sidelines here. 1 shot, 1 kill does come through, but yet again is going to go to Gabe Vizzle and he just soaks it up, not a problem. That Force to Core being blocked as well is going to be pretty nice for TSM.
Yeah, TSM already have that Crucible. Absolutely crucial versus Finn. Don't think I need to say that. I think most people know. It's probably the most essential item versus the Finn. Here we go.
That's like we're want to go in though. Old School getting the aces high. Does find one with the stun, but TSM returning a lot of that damage. Gabe Vizzle going fairly low in the front lines. Almost goes down to a Glimmer shot. Old School is in a little bit of trouble here once more. Von C goes around the sidelines. Does manage to pick him off. Just a little BM there as well, just flashing back over and over again. They are going to be able to siege up this turret, and Joseph is going to have to just back off of this one. TSM, they return the favour to Cloud9 as they take their first turret of the game.
The siege comes through again. Von C finding these really excellent flanks on C9 who are backing. I think Old School getting caught out a couple of times here. Von C does pick up that regeneration camp as well. That Triumph will go down to him. There's the 1 shot, 1 kill. Doesn't actually land, but it was just more of a scouting 1 shot, 1 kill anyway. TSM playing these fights very well. The Pirates Monocle and Weapon Infusion has come up for Best Chuck NA here, so they're going to be looking for yet another fight. They've got a lot of burst damage. You see the positioning from Best Chuck NA in these fights. As soon as Von C becomes the target for C9, Best Chuck NA is running to that back line, using the Twirling Silver for a bit of mobility and putting pressure onto Old School or I Love Joseph. And with the critical strike, he's already starting to burst them out. So again, there's a lot of defensive options for Cloud9 to think about. You want to itemize shielding because it's a CP Kestrel, because it's critical strike on the Ringo. You have to think about the armor as well. It does mean that you're splitting that gold. Oh, we got another fight.
Whoa, hang on a minute, because that's a double force to cord. Flash X gets himself on the wrong side of a Quibble as well. Von C is going to be able to run away, and the Oblivion comes out. Doesn't manage to sleep anybody. TSM doing a fantastic job of disengaging. They are going to find 1 kill, in fact, and Best Chuck NA is going to be able to follow up the damage on Olaf Joseph. He falls also. Gabe Vizzle, the last one alive, with after just an excellent force to cord onto 2 people at TSM.
And now look, they're going to go on. The Frostburn starting to really work on this Finn.
Oh boy, he's going to get under that turret. Will he survive? I don't think so, as Best Chuck NA finally finishes off with the kill. It's going to be an ace for ace for TSM, in fact, as those minions push in as well. That's a really healthy wave, and they're going to be able to secure this turret.
Another turret. Maybe even then double back onto that gold mine, but it would be risky, I think, with how low Best Chuck NA is, plus all of these scout traps in the area. Bonsi might hand this over to Best Chuck.
Yeah, he did. Oh,
Actually, they're going to try and burst this out. They do have the CP Kestrel, remember, so this is a lot of burst. C9 want to do something about this.
Ooh, that
Old School
damage!
really-
Old School, he comes in. Drifting Dart comes through as well, but he's maybe overextended just a tad. He does end up falling. Von C very low. Joseph comes in. He finds one. Can he find Flash X as well? No, because Best Chuck NA is going to just chase him down. Forced a cord onto Best Chuck. He's going to get grabbed into Gabe Vizzle. Gabe Vizzle is very, very tanky, but they've got the damage to follow this one up. He probably won't be able to get away at this point. This just could be another ace for TSM. Quibble onto one. Not going to matter because an ace comes through once more. Back-to-back aces for TSM.
Old School, only just having picked up shielding, decides to take that frontline position again. Really, really underestimating the damage output of this. Oh, wow, Old School going in again.
Wrong place, wrong time, buddy. Although he does chase them away with the help of the Crystal Sentry. Not Blight Bulwark, it will be a buckshot to just chase them away with. And once more, yeah, Old School maybe being a little bit aggressive.
So Old School has been kind of, I guess, almost disrespecting the damage output of the CP Kestrel at this point in time. Just previously to that engage, he had absolutely zero shielding. And I think he's been underestimating how much damage Von C can put onto him. He's getting like 3-shot by these glimmer shots at this point in time. So that's why he's going in, frontlining with this attention bow Gwen, trying to find some sort of burst, but is unfortunately receiving more than he can put out. And that's basically been the story of a lot of these C9 fights. Old School just getting caught out. And unfortunately, once Old School's down, most of the consistent sustained damage is also gone from the C9 roster.
Oh, another scouting one-shot, one-kill. Oblivion comes through, actually does find one, and that's going to be a massive force to cord once more for Gabe Vizzle. Flash X in the middle of all three, but Best Chuck NA is just kiting them on their own backline. Again, a little bit overstated and overstepped. He ends up falling to Old School. He picks up the kill for himself as Von C is going to be an active camo, gets 1, 2, 3 glimmer shots off, cannot find the fourth onto Old School. Is going to be able to get active camo away yet again. Is he going to be able to find anything? I don't think so. He's just in the backline of Cloud9 right now, just going to get the recall off. That was very, very close. Could have gone down there.
Very, very close. I think actually, unfortunately, Best Chuck NA went through the portal, completely isolated himself, and TSM couldn't follow up on that support. It was actually a decent position until Cloud9 completely collapsed on him, because it looked like he got to the back line and was dealing the damage necessary. Unfortunate for him, TSM unfortunately were in a pretty bad situation to help follow him up. And then they had to sacrifice Best Chuck as they went out. I don't know if he meant to go through the Lyra portal. I think that could have been a potential mistake. But if he did, it delivered him to the right position because he was doing a lot of backline damage. If TSM had managed to split the focus of C9, it might have worked out for them. But unfortunately, the rest of TSM had to back off.
Oh, another force to cord on Von C. Later, mate. Ends up falling. Flash X running away as well. That's going to be Cloud9 with another beautiful follow-up passageway through. He's not going to help you now. 3 members of Cloud9 underneath that turret. Best Chuck NA ends up falling too to the Finn eventually. Finally picks up his second kill of the game. He needs some kills. He needs some love as well, ex-Scoundrel. Cloud9 finding the return ace.
Look, it's happened a few times now.
Look.
You've got a reflex block on CP Kestrel, which doesn't really often happen. You've got a Crucible, and Ringo's got his own reflex block. These Finn hooks shouldn't really be landing at this point in time. You should force this Finn to have to build something like an Echo to actually be able to land one of these Finn hooks. I know they've been coming over the wall, which can be sometimes hard to do, but when you build reflex block on CP Kestrel, it's a lot of itemization, a lot of gold that you take away from just building more damage, which is often what CP Kestrels like to do. I often, in a lot of situations, very rarely see CP Kestrels build any form of defense, including a reflex block. You have to be able to consistently block these Finn hooks, otherwise there's no point having the Crucible, there's no point having the reflex block really in the first place. So yeah, I think that's really the only thing you can say about a couple of these fights that have taken place over the last few minutes.
I mean, Echo is something we have actually seen in EU. We saw one yesterday on a Finn. So, I mean, it could be there. Gabe Vizzle has got a couple of item slots left. He could pick one up if he really wants to. Although one item slot, he's got one full of flares. He has got a contraption as well. Flash X is going to get spotted out once more. Gabe Vizzle does have force to cord available. 1-shot, 1-kill comes out onto Old School. Old School taking a lot of damage. Ace is high over the wall, but it's not going to matter because Old School is going to fall instantly in this fight. He dashes forward. Best Chuck NA meets him with a twirling silver. Von C in the front line now. Gabe Vizzle can't really do all too much in terms of damage. Joseph is going to have to find something here. Von C taking the passageway not once but twice. Going to be on the back line of Cloud9 right now. FlashX is trying to run away. Best Jukane is going really low here. Can Joseph find anything? He finds one. He finds FlashX. But no, Vonsi is in the back line here. Gets Polite Company. And I'm not sure it's going to be enough, Scoundrel, because TSM are actually going to have to back off of this one. That surely looked like their fight. But Cloud9 turning that one around. He got it. He got the snipe, but it didn't matter. Oh, my goodness. Gabe Vizzle takes the credit.
Not only is Scout Trap become a European player,
MVP.
Scout Trap has now become a North American player as well.
4v3.
It's been MVP. That absolutely secured Kraken, because if Vonsi had been able to regenerate, he might have been able to cause some real disturbances with the glimmer shots. But he died to the Scout Trap. Oh no.
Oh boy.
That was a really interesting fight, because initially it looked like the positioning was awesome. That was a great block of the Aces High for Von C very early on. They looked like they've managed to take out Old School very quickly. But I love Joseph now with this build. He's got the Frostburn and the Broken Myth, especially with this contraption on Gabe Vizzle. It's making it very difficult for Von C to actually find a flank position and actually find any damage on I love Joseph right now. So it just looks very difficult to actually deal with this backline unless you are committing as a total unit of TSM to actually get to I love Joseph. Samuel's doing a lot of work at this point in time.
Whew. Yeah, he's doing a fair bit of work. Another Forster Chord lands. The Oblivion lands as well on FlashX. Best Chukane just gets annihilated as they chase them down in the base. Cloud9, this could be a 2-0, Scoundrel. It could
be
very
indeed.
well be. Kraken is just knocking on that turret. Vonsi needs to look for something here. He's going to set the active camera trap up. That's going to be a two-man stun, but is it going to be enough? Cloud9 in the base. FlashX is there for the healing as well on Vonsi. It doesn't like Cloud9 are just slowly backing off now. Apart from Joseph, he finally makes his way out. Beautiful active camo trap. Vonsi still chasing. You can see his misty little corpse, I guess. Oh no, the Polite Company. Oh boy, this is a good game to be in for Old School right now, as it is his birthday as well. TSM are literally gifting it to him.
Yeah. Happy birthday, C9.
Yeah. Here's a 2-0.
Have a semi-final win.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
I think that was another odd sequence of events, because again, Von C knew he'd been scouted out by the Flare. All it took was he even blocked the Polite Company, but you still get pulled out of stealth. And when a Kestrel is out of stealth within range of the enemy carries, that's just good night, goodbye. And especially with this build, it's not exactly burst heavy. The Frostbird and the Broken Myth, they combine to form a sort of elongated CP Kestrel build. You're looking to get multiple Glimmer shots off to build those Broken Myth stacks. You're looking to play the fight where you're slowing your enemy consistently. So it's not this burst-orientated build that I expected to see come out, especially now as they're facing up against double Aegis from the carries, as well as an extra piece of shielding coming out from Gabe Vizzle on top of his Fountain. This is a lot of CP defense now, stockpiled by C9. And Von C, I just don't really feel like he's doing damage. You catch two carries in an active camo trap, you expect to delete them. Von C almost barely touched them. They just walked away. They waltzed away from that active camo trap that was so perfectly set up.
Uh-oh, Cloud9. Oh, forced to call miss, but the one-shot, one-kill doesn't. Joseph taken really low. That's going to be another nice Oblivion as it does land onto FlashX. Cloud9 does use the Fountain to try and get a bit of healing back, but the passageway through, FlashX is just going to segregate Gabe Vizzle from the rest of his squad. FlashX still surviving somehow, but so is Gabe Vizzle. They managed to finally take one out. Best Chukane might fall as well, but he's going really ham in the backline. Finals one, finds two, and that'll be TSM and Cloud9 trading 2 for 2.
And look at this, Von C can't find a position because of all of the scout traps and how low he is. One thin quibble will settle the day. Doesn't manage to land the snipe either, but there was a decent fight from TSM. They got the initial burst damage down that was necessary, but look how hard Gabe Vizzle is making it for both Von C and Best Chukane to follow up on that engage from FlashX. FlashX was there, tanking two carries for about 10 seconds. And neither Von C nor Best Chukane could actually get past Gabe Vizzle because of the quibbles, because of the pull-ins from the Polite Company. He made it so difficult for them to actually follow up on the damage. And obviously FlashX isn't going to deal with two carries by himself. And that allowed Old School and I Love Joseph enough time to deal with FlashX. And even though they went down, the damage was already done. You know, that left Best Chukane to duo them. And that was, even though he got the kills, he still ended up going down in the end. absolutely. Yeah, I think Gabe Vizzle having a good game on this Finn, doing exactly what he needs to do, just being a nuisance, protecting his backline. That's exactly what you need from your Finn.
Well, they have found Flash X, though, caught him out. Hellfire Brew does land on the back line. Cloud9, their health bars are looking pretty low right now. Gabe Vizzle is going to dash forward. That's going to be a really nice sleep onto Best Jukane. He's going really low. Kraken's been started up as well in the middle of that one. 1 for 1 so far. Flash X is going to take the portal away. The one-shot, one kill does snipe out I Love Joseph. Old School is in a 2v1 situation with Von C. That's not where you want to be. 1, 2, 3 shots. One finally lands. They're going to chase him up, and I think he's going to go down. One more auto attack will finish him off. Flash X is going to find the extraordinary kill. Ace comes through for TSM. They're just going to run down the lane right now and at least take one of these turrets off the fold.
That felt like it was a C9 fight from the very start, but somehow TSM had the longevity to be able to survive the onslaught. And again, Old School and I Love Joseph went super aggressive. Got to give credit, most of the credit there, to Von C in that fight. A lot of it early damage was done by Best Check NA. I think he did a lot of work to Old School and I Love Joseph on the front line, but that was a great snipe from Von C, doing so much work. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get this Kraken. No, I think this Kraken's done so. I think this is going to be very risky to take. They might be able to take it if Ringo gets there, but it's going to be super close.
Ooh, it is going really, it's going in favor of TSM right now. At least Ringo has reached him eventually. One shot, one kill does come out. It's not going to get stolen by Cloud9. TSM are going to secure it. And Kraken is going to walk towards, or I should say march towards that lane. TSM, they're looking to come back into this game. That's force record blown now for Gabe Vizzle. No echo in his pocket, so he can't really activate that anytime soon. 20-second cooldown, though. It's not too big. Now TSM, they are on the offensive as Old School takes a lot of glimmer shots, actually. It's a lot of damage. Best Jukane, he's cutting on the side. That's one big ultimate as well. Down for Old School. He's in a lot of trouble. Ends up falling to Von C. And now is Gabe Vizzle in the front line trying to defend I Love Joseph with his life. That's Quibble onto one, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough because Gabe Vizzle has fallen. TSM are going to push through. One shot, one kill does go a little bit wide, but TSM are going to follow the passageway through. But I Love Joseph in a 1v3 isn't going to be able to do much. Ace comes through once more. Kraken marching down the lane. In Cloud9's basic Scoundrel, we go into a game 3.
Yeah, two things that give TSM the victory in these fights. Forced Accord not landing or being blocked, and Old School face tanking 5 glimmer shots. Like that happened again. And do you know what Kestrel loves? When she doesn't even have to aim her glimmer shots. You just walk through a choke point like the mustache brush, and you send your carry out first. Von C must have been thanking his lucky stars that he was just given a firing range with only one alley. Just absolutely decimated Old School, and suddenly the critical strike coming out from Best Chuck NA was enough to finish the day. There was a very odd piece of movement there from C9 right at the end. Very, very odd. Especially with Old School being the first one out there. I think that was gifted at the end there. TSM did a good job to get the Kraken. It was definitely in their favor, but that fight was gifted on a silver platter. Right there to TSM. Cloud9 ran down like fish in a barrel, and they were all pierced by arrows.
Yeah, those glimmer shots just rained through 3 members. You just saw the health bars just disintegrating for Cloud9, and that was the end of the team fight and the end of the game. But we will be going to a game 3 in this heated series. But to break this game down even further, AJ and the boys, they're going to do that for us right now.
Wow, what a game. That one turned around real quick towards the end there. Team Solamid have, I believe, Bacon, you were saying, locked in a spot in the top 2 now.
Yep.
They've definitely got a first-round bye. That is huge for them.
Yeah, even if they lose this series, Cloud9 can only earn enough points to tie them at the moment, but Team Solamid has a 1-game advantage in the head-to-head if they end up losing this series out even. So it's congratulations to Team Solamid. As much as we can say. They still want to get that #1 spot, I think, for Pride, but they have a first-round bye regardless at the Unified Championship.
All right, let's have a look at some replays before we get into our next game here. First up, 9:30.
Yeah,
very
this is
early
a
into this.
critical fight. Gabe lands a beautiful force accord, and look at Flash with the timing of his Imperial Sigils. This game was amazing, and then the fountain timing was awesome. And they turn around this fight. The trap is on the top. Pay attention close to that as Joseph moves back into it, and they combo the trap along with the Hellfire Brew. So really nice comeback by TSM there, and this allowed them to stay in the game. And if Cloud9 won that fight, it would have potentially allowed Cloud9 to snowball it, because Old School actually wasn't able to build up his damage items. He was behind Chuck most of the game.
And that was also really important because Cloud9 was starting to snowball at that point, and that really kind of put an end to it and allowed Team Soul Mid to then make that comeback later on, too.
Yeah.
And speaking of comebacks later on, let's not have a look at the comeback fight, but actually the last fight here, where they closed out the game with the Kraken. Cloud9 moving to this choke point.
Yeah, this is where, against a Kestrel, they needed, the wing condition was to dive onto Kestrel. They missed the aces high. They bunch up against the CP Kestrel here. And this is when it just went downhill for Cloud9. And Vainglory8 has 4 stacks, 5 stacks. He's just stacking up at this point. Flash saves his portal for the right time and uses it expertly along with the Crucible. So these last few fights, Flash was able to make those plays. He did miss 2 force accords, and I think those are critical to helping Cloud9 get ahead. And in the end, it came through with Vainglory8. Like I said, the jungles really played out. It was really the Kestrel versus the Samuel, and the Kestrel pulled through.
And that was just, it was really greedy positioning from Cloud9. They wanted to get up into the lane as quickly as they could so they could try and deal with Team Soul Mid with the Kraken pushing in. But sometimes you have to just bite the bullet and just walk around that wall. Don't go through the mustache brush. It takes a little bit longer, but it's much, much safer.
Honestly, the fight before that, the real comeback fight, blew me away as well, because you had that polite company actually pull Best Chuck into a sleep, and they still won the fight. I mean, Team Solo Mid, the comeback was incredible. Let's get into the draft for game number 3, though. We got Cloud9 up against Team Solo Mid. This is the one to determine who goes forward to the finals. Team Solo Mid, they're playing for pride and prize right now. Cloud9 still want to lock in that top 2 seed spot.
Yeah, TSM is changing up their ban. They normally ban Glaive, but they're going to keep Glaive and Lance open. Cloud9 will probably go for the Lance, and TSM will take away the Glaive. They probably will secure the Gwen first, though, and then ban potentially an Assassin like Koshka, etc., or just ban Glaive, actually, and then play... they're going to decide to ban the Assassin here. Cloud9 will most likely take away the Glaive and not give them the Glaive, and this opens up TSM to take Samuel, actually. Oh, they're going to ban Samuel, actually. So TSM will most likely take the Glaive here and not give Glaive to Cloud9. Lance and Glaive is an extremely deadly combination, so most likely they will pick up the Glaive. Or if they want, they can take Koshka. But most likely, I think this will be Glaive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Glaive as well. Team Soul Mid has put more emphasis on Glaive in their drafts than any other hero. He has been banned or picked by TSM themselves in over 60% of their drafts throughout the entire season. And that's just, it's far above and beyond any other hero.
Wow, that's pretty impressive stuff, or rather interesting stuff. It's not too impressive. Anyone can pick it.
Yeah, anyone can ban it, too.
That's true.
But
that's true. I mean, sometimes my finger slips, but I'm a noob. All right, Team Solo Mid picking up Sky as their second pick here.
Oh, they're going to pick Sky when Glaive is open. Glaive and Lance
59%. No.
I said it was over 60%.
Glaive and Lance are such a huge counter to Sky, so TSM must have something planned here, or they're just picking Sky because Vainglory8 says, I want Sky, no fear, just Sky. So I think Cloud9 will probably take the Vox with Glaive here, will most likely be their composition, because it makes the most sense, honestly. So let's see what Cloud9 decides to pick here as the last pick. TSM may round it out with Flicker, because they want Glaive to dive in, slow the heck out of him, and then burst him down. So TSM may round out their last pick with a Flicker. Hopefully they won't do Petal here and do like a support or Captain Sky here. So let's see what's going to happen with the draft. You never know.
You just never know. Not anymore. It's all over. All right, Cloud9, what are they thinking about? 40 seconds left on the clock. I know you'd like to see that Glaive. What else could they go for? I mean, are there some other options worth considering here?
There are a couple options with Cloud9 especially. They could go for something like a Petal
Koshka
into the sky, I think could work. But Koshka is it's a little iffy. They haven't really played Koshka much, and it also just hasn't been meta for a while, but they're going to go with the Glaive.
There we go. The Glaive is picked up, and TSM is going to pick Flicker, or they can... Oh, Arden! Flash X on that One Punch Man Arden. Let's see what he can do with it.
All right, so the team compositions have been locked in here. You expected this Cloud9 one. They still wanted to make sure it was the right call. Team Solo Mid, they've got the Sky, which they brought out yesterday and did really well with. They've got an Arden here, which Flash, of course, known for. Which composition do you guys favor?
I kind of like Team Solo Mid's comp a little bit better, even though there is that Glaive Lance, which is super, super strong. I'm a big fan of Flash X on Arden especially. And pairing that with the Sky, I think that just adds so much mobility.
I really like C9's composition, especially you Gabe on that lance. He's like a god lance. So and Joseph is really good on glaive. So they have a really strong combination. Lance glaive is a very, very strong combo.
And are they going to be playing to the early game here? Is that the game plan? Just snowball that Vox as quickly as possible?
Yeah, they'll probably farm up until Joseph gets his Aftershock, Stormcrown build, and then they're going to start putting pressure. They're going to try to gank as much as possible, so Joseph will rotate to lane pretty often. TSM is going to scale Sky up. They want Sky to farm safely, so I think it might work if Cloud9 does that for them and not invade, etc. So I think TSM is going to wait until Sky gets the Frostburn, and then they're going to start putting pressure.
And it's definitely going to be that way in terms of crystal and weapon. There's no alternative paths these guys could go for.
I mean, there are, but it's very unlikely. Like, there's always an alternative path.
Dream.
That's one of the big strengths of Vainglory is there's always that, like, almost every hero can go either weapon or crystal, but I think it's most likely that we see everything kind of stick to what's been standard for quite some time now.
All right, well, we are slightly delayed, guys, getting into this game. It won't be too much longer, I hope, but we should try and break down a little bit more of the implications, perhaps, here. In case you missed it, Team Solomid has now locked in their top 2 seed spot, which means they are guaranteed a first-round bye at the championships. That is a massive confidence boost. It's a great position to be in. Cloud9, they still need to lock in their top 2 seed spot. How far off are they, roughly, Bacon?
As of right now, they're 4 points behind Hammers Esports. And so if they don't win this matchup, you know, Hammers has their semifinal later on where they could gain 4 points. And so if Cloud9 doesn't win here, then they are taking a big, big risk because Hammers could theoretically lock in that spot tonight.
Yeah, so this is, I mean, really quite important then for C9 to win this game in particular, which explains why they took so long to make a pick that Suijay you thought was kind of a foregone conclusion. You know, it seemed like the right option. Hopefully, we won't take too much longer to get into this lobby. Let's just give a refresher of these team compositions for anyone only just now joining or who's forgotten the draft. It is the Lance with a Vox and a Glaive on the side of Cloud9, and their opponents are playing Sky,
Gwen and Arden.
Gwen and
So
Arden.
what I like about this matchup,
We don't have it
especially,
anywhere. I can't see it.
is Flash is phenomenal on Arden. That's like his old man Arden, one punch. I'm gonna steal your Kraken from you. Gabe is amazing on Lance. I mean, he rivals Free Willy's Lance, I think. And it's gonna come down to supports this game. I feel like the jungles will be pretty even. Swansea is amazing on Sky. Joseph is great on Glaive. It's going to come down to, is Gabe going to be able to set up plays? Is Flash going to be able to set up the plays? Watch his gauntlets? And who's going to counter who when it comes to it? Because Arden has a 4-second barrier. That's huge for Chuck to go in there and delete Old School. So they need to leverage that. And that's a buff from a few patches ago because this barrier used to be like 2 or 3 seconds and is now back at 4 seconds, which is huge. So we'll see how these supports, these captains, play out.
Yeah, I mean, those are good points there. It's certainly, in terms of the comfortability on these heroes, always something you got to talk about. You mentioned Gabe Visual, for example, on that Lance, feels really good. Vainglory8's Sky, I want to talk about that a little bit, though, because we saw it yesterday.
Yep.
Right? It was quite effective. It certainly wasn't like a standout performance from Vainglory8, for me personally, at least. Do you think that this is a hero that he's trying to work on right now, perhaps? Is that part of why he's getting picked up?
It could be part of it. I think it's also just a pick that has been very strong recently. It's a skill matchup when we talk about with it being against a Lance. And so I think it's just sort of, you know, the confidence from Team Solomid and Vainglory8 in particular to pick that hero and say, okay, you know what? It's a skill matchup. I think I have the skill to outplay the opposing Lance. And that's what makes it super interesting, super fun to watch when we're actually in-game. Because if those impales connect onto a Sky, she's a sitting duck and very easy to kill. But if Vainglory8 can avoid all those impales, then he's able to just dance around fights and put out so much damage.
Vainglory8 also plays Sky very aggressive. Probably more aggressive than I would like, but it works out for him. And with Arden, it's perfect because when he can Series Strike onto the team, get a 4-second barrier, and then delete, he likes to Series Strike right onto a carry and literally 4 barrage in their face. And he's deleted Tigers and so many great players using that strategy. And with Arden, you know, the Vanguard is going to slow that carry for him, and with Frostburn, it's like a double slow, and it's going to allow him to really do some work. So I'd love to see that combination. Look out for it. And also, he's really good at landing his series strikes, either zone out the enemy team if they want to run, or to use it to stun a carry and then series strike and forward barrage combo onto them. So it's gonna come down to how the captains will make those plays for the team, and then Chuck and Von C versus Old School and Joseph's focus, right? It's gonna come down to that too.
All right, guys, let's get some quick predictions. We are finally ready to kick this game off.
I liked Cloud9 because they have Lance on Gabe and Glaive, which is very strong.
I like the Cloud9 draft, but I think Team Solomid's going to take it.
All right, we're on to the Halcyon Fold. Ladies and gentlemen, with the call, we've got Jaws and Scoundrel.
Thank you very much. Game number 3, TSM Cloud9. Both of these teams looking extremely strong thus far. Cannot wait to get into this one. They have DC'd a little bit, so Scoundrel, please take over for the short while.
Okay, you got me, boys. You got me until George's tournament client sorts itself out. It's only on George's side though, so you can't blame anything else. I blame you, George. Anyway, TSM, yeah, they've got that going up against that very patented Lance Glaive combination. But again, they've got a hyper-mobile team here. So you have the Arden Vanguard, you've got a Gwen who can get herself out of the Impales regardless with the Skedaddle. And remember, obviously, Von C on this Sky is going to be ridiculously mobile, and add the Vanguard movement speed to that as well. You're always going to have something that's very difficult to lock down. So if you can keep yourself out of that Impale, keep yourself out of the range of an easy afterburn coming out from the Glaive, then actually TSM could be in a fairly strong position. But you have the Vox to follow up. Remember, that's always going to be a lying threat in the backline for C9. Obviously, he'll be able to stack up, and if you ignore him because you're so busy trying to evade the Lance and the Glaive, then that's going to be an issue for TSM. So again, there's a lot of pitfalls here for the C9 roster. There's a lot of things that can come out and kind of bite TSM. TSM do have to be careful about their positioning and making sure they are trying to evade those Impales as much as physically possible.
I mean, one thing we have seen quite frequently now is the Sky being picked up in Challenger Series. So that's really one pick I really enjoy seeing is this Sky, and it's going to be in the jungle. Von C, yeah, I think is an absolutely fantastic jungler, but on the Kestrel, and if he has as perfect positioning as he does on the Sky as well, I'm sure he can make it work. I mean, it's not been the most successful pick in VG8 thus far, though.
No, definitely. Sky could be hard to make work. I got to give credit to Von C for being a good Sky jungler, unlike me. He always locks onto his target before he uses that forward barrage, because you get that extra little bit of damage. Yeah, the more you know. But that's obviously something that I always forget to do. But Von C's doing it, Just adding that little bit of interesting information there, Jaws, just for the viewers.
Oh, that's very nice of you.
I know. I try. Anyway, looks like Old School and Gabe Bizzle now shoving this lane down. There's not going to be the same push power for TSM here. Arden not particularly great at pushing, and obviously adding that Impale and the long range multiple target hitting basic attack from the Lance means that TSM are going to have to deal with being shoved in consistently if they leave this in a 2 versus 2 situation. If they can keep themselves out of that Impale early on, though, you imagine that they'll be able to steady things up, get to a position where they're going to be strong team fighting, like the Frostburn in the Sky. That'll be a big item spike here for Von C. Once he hits that Frostburn, it'll provide a lot of control to them as a team fighting team.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you're going to need that kind of kite potential, right? Because Cloud9, all about that all engage with I Love Joseph and Gabe Bizzle on the Lance and Glaive, respectively. I Love Joseph already going fairly aggressive here. Knows he has Glaive for backup, or at least Gabe Bizzle, in fact, for backup. They are just going to get shoved in. I mean, TSM right now, where are they looking in terms of fights? Because Beshjakane is going to want to fight early on that Gwen, and we're going to see Old School obviously just stacking, like scaling up, maybe Sorablade, Breaking Point, Double Monocle, obviously like we're used to seeing. When do you think they're going to actually look for a fight here?
Well, TSM, Sky is actually fairly good throughout the game, but obviously does shine with her mobility in the late game and the damage that she can output, so they do have that late game bailout, and you provide that ladder to it by having this Tension Bow Gwen. The issue is how are you going to make this work? Where are you going to be looking to have this Tension Bow Gwen have an impact? It's got a lot of burst here, and obviously Tension Bow is generally picked up as a good move against something like a Vox, because if you can get positioning on Vox with a Tension Bow, you can have an absolute massive impact. We're going to potentially have a fight, though, as Gabe Bizzle runs in.
Yeah, double root and double Githium wall as well. Fountain is going to get popped from TSM to keep them all healthy. Beshjakane is going to have to reposition himself as well, forming a static line here, but TSM still on the advance. Gabe Bizzle maybe looking to go back in, boots in, just gets the Githium wall off and runs away again. Afterburn away as well for I Love Joseph. Old School is going to Sonic Zoom, but TSM still looking to go on the aggression here, are going to take those fronts away.
Yeah, no Frostburn yet for Von C, so the chase down potential until the Frostburn comes out is actually pretty low from TSM. You've only got that buckshot to slow the retreating members of C9, and you can see their Flash X isn't a captain hero that can really chase anybody down. He just kind of facilitates and enhances his carry's mobilities more than anything. So you're really not going to see TSM do too much chasing down, but it was a good turnaround. You could see how devastating a good and well-positioned Sky can be against the likes of a Glaive and a Lance. As soon as that stun wore off and Sky was able to Suri strike into a better position, it looked like TSM had complete dominance of that particular area of the engage, and the skirmish started to go in their favor.
It did indeed, and Flash X actually not going too in favour this time, as he does get Githia Mauled fairly low at the moment. Does get impaled as well. That Githia Maul is going to stun him up. I Love Joseph maybe wanting to look for something, actually using the afterburn very defensively, as he knows Von C is going to be nearby and around. Death from above available from Von C as well, and like you said, if they do manage to kind of get those stuns off from that, I mean, it's going to be pretty disastrous for the back line of TSM.
Yeah, as long as
Cloud9,
Von C is maintaining his positioning on the outside of the fight, that Frostburn is now completed, so he'll be able to slow down I Love Joseph and Gabe Vizel. The issue with a Glaive, although it won't be an issue as the game progresses. Remember, as the game progresses, this is going to be a very low cooldown afterburn coming out from I Love Joseph. But at this stage in the game, with just the Storm Crown on board, as long as Von C gets good positional advantage, he's going to be able to control the pace of these teamfights, as long as he's not within range of Impale, as long as he's not within range of the afterburn itself. It's going to be very difficult once that engage has been used from C9 to be able to actually do well in a teamfight situation.
I mean, the one big tool as well that TSM do have in their favour is that massive gauntlet. When Flash X hits that level 6, they're not going to need to worry about kiting, because Von C can stand a mile away and just gun them all down as they're all trapped inside, or at least if one of them's stunned. Old School actually taking a fair bit of damage there as TSM does go on the aggression. So yet again, just kind of holding back here. I mean, we are seeing this early build coming out from the ground with the Tension Bow, looking to go into the Sorrow Blade now, so she's going to be doing an absolute heap of damage. And Old School, he's really going to have to start scaling up.
There's the Death from above. It zones them out and makes it very difficult for C9 to run away.
Oh, but C9 actually just going straight in again. Afterburn does come through, and Von C going extremely aggressive. Impale does land onto one, but it's not going to matter. Nice disengage from Gabe Vizel there, actually, to make sure I Love Joseph survives.
Yeah, that's a great aggressive positioning from Von C. Saw that the afterburn had been used, felt that it was very difficult for them to actually find a reposition on him. Went straight into the back line and caused some absolute havoc. And now TSM have the potential to take this turret down as well. But Gabe Vizel, heroic defense, will keep the turret healthy.
Yeah, I do like the shield on that skin as well. So, like, when the 4 barrages coming through, he's literally, like, blocking it with the shield. Looks pretty cool. The little feature there. Whoa, hang on a minute. Joseph going in, but just managed to steal away the camp. That's what you want. And they are going to rotate back to the lane. And Cloud9, not with the greatest sieging potential here either. And TSM are going to have a much easier time. But Flash X still not hitting that level 6. Might just hit it off this wave or the beginning of the next. That's going to be a big tool for them to use very soon.
Small note, I like actually what I Love Joseph has done here with his build path. Prioritized the chronograph over the Eclipse Prism, although he has now finished the Eclipse Prism. He really values that cooldown reduction because he needs to have his mobility up against a hypermobile team like TSM. So he knows that even before defense, it's probably more worth it to rush straight for the maximum cooldown reduction that you get from this build with the Aftershock and the Storm Crown to get a very low cooldown on his afterburn, so he's able to continuously threaten and keep on top of Von C, probably the main target that they want to be worried about in these team fights. So I like that from I Love Joseph. Now that he's finished it, he can look towards defense, but this is going to give him far more mobility and be far more threatening in these team fights, and that's good for him versus what TSM is bringing to the table.
Yeah, nothing's worse than going against a Glaive with a lot of cooldown. Double, triple afterburn sometimes in teamfights can be extremely frustrating to deal with, especially if someone like a Gwen. I mean, after you use that skedaddle, you've got very little tools in your kit to actually protect anything that is that dive heavy and dive centric.
Absolutely. Here goes TSM. They're defending this siege from Cloud9. C9 will just back off here. Very tense game in the final of this semi-final. This final game of this semi-final is it looked very, very dominant from Cloud9 for the most part, but TSM found a resurgence in the last game and now seem to be on top of C9 despite the gold being ever so slightly in C9's favor. You feel like a lot of these team fights are going well in favor of TSM, but now, like we said, Old School, he's picked up an infusion. That's an aggressive move here without any defense on board. Really looking to have a huge impact straight away in these team fights, you would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the reflex block, but that's really about it in terms of defense. Probably going to just use that to fend off I Love Joseph or Gabe Vizzle if he does land an Impale. But like you said, the fights are going in TSM's favour because they have that kiting potential. Best Chuck and A?
No, I sorry, I meant I Love Joseph. I Love Joseph picked up the infusion.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I Love Joseph doesn't have it. He doesn't even have a reflex block. He's only got boots.
Oh, he does not, yeah. He's only got boots.
He's got
and
no defense. He's only got boots. He's gone for hyper mobility as much as he can with the cooldown reduction for the afterburn. Basically saying, you know, I want to get on top of Skye and continuously pressure her despite her having Frostburn. Has now picked up some armor, so just trying to deal with that tension bow burst coming out from the Gwen. Looks like TSM, though, looking to be aggressive here. Here comes the Gauntlet.
Yeah, maybe. Gauntlet does come down. Old School gets out pretty much clean free, but Gabe Vizzle, is it going to be the same story? That is going to be the Fountain coming out for the healing. I Love Joseph is going to find Best Chuck and A in the front line. Death and Ruff comes down. It's going to separate Cloud9. They're going to find one kill, and now they're just going to solo out Old School. He finds the floor, and Gabe Vizzle is going to get chased up by Vonsi and Flash X. He's not going to be long for the fold, as you can see already. Best Chuck and A pushing that lane out. Beautiful Gauntlet coming down for Flash X.
Yeah, it was super decisive. That's what they needed. It took advantage of the fact that Gabe Vizzle didn't have his own reflex block yet. He was stuck in there. Definitely a key target for the forward barrage coming out from Vonsi. Old School had to back out with his reflex block. It separated the team, made the single target focus for TSM very easy. And then when I Love Joseph came in, he was too late. And you saw he got ripped apart, because there was no defense for him. And unfortunately, when he's not there and coordinated with his team, despite having this super high cooldown reduction, he needs to be coordinating with Gabe Vizzle on this Lance to make that work for them. But unfortunately, they weren't quite all on the same page because Flash X made that initiation, and Flash X kind of put C9 on a tilter there.
On a tilter, on a teetering edge, and 3-0 to TSM, a very, very good start for them, and they haven't had the first few kills in this entire series so far. Cloud9, like you mentioned earlier, very, very dominant, in fact, coming out, but TSM pulling all the guns out this time, and making sure they can make a statement in this best of three. I mean, they are top of the regions thus far, Iskander. We've got to remember that. We've got to put that in our minds, but Cloud9, they're putting up a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I mean, these are very closely matched teams, but TSM has always been the strongest team in North America. They've proved that time and time again. I do believe people are starting to catch up with them, but TSM is showing exactly why they are the best roster around. Look at this, Vonsi also finished his double item spike. He's working towards a Eve of Harvest, you would imagine, here as his final item in terms of damage you would expect. That's a big, big spike for him because he's going to be able to stack up that Broken Myth fairly easily against double melee. It's going to make him ever more devastating in team fights. Flash X has got a Crystal Infusion, which is going to give him a little bit of extra damage on his Gauntlet wall as well. So even if you have to back out of it, you're going to take the damage from that. You're going to have the Atlas Pauldrons there for Old School. He's got the Crucible as well to stop the Afterburns and the Impales happening. Lots and lots of good items picked up here. Big item spikes for TSM, but now Flash X has got to be careful.
Oh, he's got to be very careful. Vonsi is going to meet him, though. Gauntlet over the wall. It's going to stun up Gabe Vizzle here. Vonsi does find himself on an afterburn, but that's not going to matter because Best Chuck and A with that tension bow's ripping through Old School. Does manage to take him out. And now Vonsi has found I Love Joseph. Those missiles hitting for a lot of damage. They're just going to chase him down here, but in fact, they're going to split their resources. Best Chuck and A, he's going to head towards the lane. And I do believe... Is I Love Joseph in the base? Yeah, he's in the base. He's going to die, though, eventually. But really, really nice prioritization here with Best Chuck and A going to the lane.
Yeah, I think Old School's probably dead here. It does leave the fact that Best Chuck and A is now by himself, but TSM should be able to collapse and go for something like the Gold Miner if they so choose. Don't know how stacked it is right now. It's always a guessing game at this point in time, so I can't actually see. But, you know, it's always an option. even if it's like half stacked, always an option.
20 gold, it's worth it!
Actually, Flash X holding on to his Crystal Infusion there as well. Maybe realizing maybe not totally worth it in that situation. They were probably going to win regardless. And again, you're seeing some of the pitfalls of this C9 composition against the CP Skye. Really wreaking havoc, you'd have to say here, Vonsi. And it also means Best Chuck and A is able to earn free to just stack up and get the burst damage down as well. TSM well thought out draft, especially into the scary combo of the Glaive and the Lance.
Yeah, it's very devastating to come up, especially as if you do manage to get a stun down, if you manage to get an afterburn and impale, Githium all. I was going to be sitting there stacking up on the breaking point, which is exactly what you don't want to happen if you're TSM. Eve of Harvest was finished with Vonsi, so he's got a little bit more sustain in these fights now in terms of just making sure he can sustain damage against Old School, which is the main damage dealer right now. Oh, I Love Joseph, you know, has picked up the reflex block, so he's got a little bit of defense in his kit.
Yeah, Vonsi picks up an infusion here. The good thing about having an Arden on your squad is that it actually makes up for having a lack of defensive items because, you know, you've got that shielding, you've got that extra mobility. TSM, unfortunately, due to Vonsi's back timing there, end up losing the gold miner. Wasn't fully stacked, 240 gold, so almost there. Decent payout for C9 here, who have been struggling in the last few team fights. Old School's now picked up a weapon infusion. Looks like he's working towards an attack speed item. Could be a bone saw. Facing up a bit of armor from FlashX, maybe deal with him on the front line. Could also be a tornado trigger for the flat burst damage that you provide with that 3-item spike. Pretty good against the likes of Von C if you can actually get to him on the backline. Makes it slightly easier to kill him. But regardless, he's got that blazing salvo on board, so it's going to go towards something. Could be a poison shiv, actually. Could be a poison shiv. That actually might make a lot of sense. The sustain could be really critical for him.
Well, does like Cloud9 want to go for engage, and the Dawnload does come down. Ace is high, does find Gabe visible, and actually, I love Joseph getting taken out. Just kind of soloed here. Impale does miss once more, and Von C just kiting perfectly. FlashX almost falls, but it's not going to matter because Best Chuck and A finds himself another kill. I love Joseph in a 2v1 situation with Gabe Visible going down as well. Double kill comes through for Best Chuck and A. Perfectly timed as the Kraken spawned 45 seconds ago. Another perfectly cleanly executed fight from TSM. 8-0 on the board now, Scoundrel.
It's disgusting at this point in time. FlashX again providing all of the distraction that his team needs, and Von C on the front line able to just wreak havoc onto I Love Joseph, who yet has got a little bit of shielding in the Atlas Pauldrons, but not a huge amount. No dedicated shielding coming out for him, and you saw how much damage Von C was doing to him as they kited back. Even with that low cooldown afterburn, made short work of him along with Best Chuck and A, as both Old School and Gabe Visible were unfortunately locked up with FlashX inside that gauntlet, making it very difficult for them to actually get there and support I Love Joseph on the glaive. FlashX doing a great job of doing exactly what gauntlets are supposed to do. Not only do they lock targets in, they separate teams, and sometimes that could be more valuable than anything else.
Doesn't have the gauntlet available for this fight, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. That's going to be a triple stun for Gabe Visible. Have they got the damage to follow this one up? Von C almost falling. Fountain's going to keep him alive, though. I love Joseph in the front line, but all of his teammates' health bars are just blinking at this current time. Finally, Best Chuck and A again just finds his first entry kill. Finds another one as well, with Von C finishing that up with the third ace for TSM. Kraken is marching on the base, and in fact, Scoundrel, could this be the end of the game? That turret is going to fall, reducing their death timers, but TSM could take this to a 2-1.
This should be a 2-1. This should be very easy for TSM to finish this off with the Kraken as well. Even with that turret going down, C9 have not respawned. This should be an easy pickup for TSM. It felt like C9 didn't know how to cope with how mobile the TSM roster was. They didn't exactly know who to focus. They seemed a bit split with their decision making. And Vonsi's aggressive movements with the Suri strike made it very difficult for Old School to get the stacks as well, because he was consistently having to run away from that forward barrage, the heavy damage coming out from Vonsi on this Sky. TSM perfectly executing this final game and make yet another finals in the North American VG8. Who can stop the freight train of TSM in North America? It seems only Hammers have been able to do so in recent times. And TSM again steamrolling forward to yet another VG8 victory if they take that final away.
I think that's worth mentioning, yeah. Who can stop the freight train that is TSM? They've just been so dominant in the scene right now that I want to know what team can actually kind of stand up to them and actually go, you know what, we're going to put up a meaningful fight for the #1 seed. Fantastic played from TSM, but Cloud9, they almost came back in this one, but a cleanly executed last game from TSM. We'll see what the analysts have to say, however, and me and Iskander will see you guys very soon.
Thank you very much, guys. All right, Team Solomid taking home the series after a game one that made us speculate about whether or not that would happen. Cloud9 really struggled in that final game, though. That was to an extent which I don't think you would have expected after game 1 and 2.
Yeah, going into this one.